All right, welcome. We are going to do Bond Henchmen today. This is not just like the main henchmen. We've got some like secondary and tertiary villains in here. We've also got some that were Bond girls. We've got some that were like seemingly primary antagonists. Like I said, if you watch the villains video, I just picked one from each film, and it was kind of the last one that Bond faced, I think, in all of them. So if there was somebody who had more screen time, they'll probably be in here. The scoring is the same, so it shouldn't really matter. They would be, the same tier. And the other one just wouldn't necessarily know what the ranking was, I guess. But we do have quite a few. I didn't. I tried to limit it to just those that like I've somewhat recognized from the film. Uh, some have two, some have three, some have four, even maybe more. But for the most part, it's the main ones. There's not going to be like, the one guy off to the side who fired a gun and you don't know who it was. So if I missed one, maybe I'll realize it and try to catch myself before the end, but I doubt we missed too many important ones. Should be in order of the films, and then alphabetical order within the film. And so we start with Dr. No. Um, Dr. No, I included. So this first person is Annabelle Chung. What I remember about, I think, this character in this, I've watched these movies over the course of a month. You kind of forget, back on the first one, all the plots and everything over time, they blend together. But I do remember her. I remember her spying on them. She was like a photographer. And I think it was Bond and Felix, maybe Coral might have. Yeah, I think Coral was there because I think she tried to like stab him with their light bulb or something that was broken. Um, I think she got away. I think they kind of let her go away, but she was just kind of memorable, beautiful, girl, but kind of the hey, a beautiful girl can be a spy, kind of setting the stage for that within the Bond series a little bit. So she was pretty good. Um, I think I've mentioned this in the other ones. S's are going to be the best of the best. A's are really good characters, awesome characters. B's still good. C's kind of forgettable or just not super important, and then D are those that like take me out of the film. So like if I see them, I'm like, oh god, this person's super boring, super bland. Like something just doesn't do it. So I'll have her as a C to start. I'll again, as always, calibrate as I go. If I figure out I'm putting people too low or too high. The second one we have here is Jones. I will say, like another good thing about Doctor No is I hadn't seen it. Like when I was young, I'd seen some of it. I'd seen the end. I mentioned that. I remember Doctor No, but I don't remember most of it. The plot, the beginning, to get to the end. Probably being in his lair was the first time I really remember it. So like Jones, I don't remember, didn't know, and it was somebody who like you think while you're watching, it's like, oh, we'll go drive her to the car, and then he ends up turning on him and gives you kind of that thrill of the chase stuff at the beginning, which was cool. I liked him. He didn't have a ton to do, but he was a fun enough character, so I just wanted to acknowledge him and have him in here. So I'll just have him down at the C level, just again because he didn't have a ton to do. Then we have Miss Taro. I think I had her on the Bond girl list as well, and she played the important role of being the spy who actually turned him over, kind of deal, or the girl who turned him over. So beautiful girl gets on the phone, calls him in, kind of thing, and I liked her. I'll have her as a B, and again sets the stage a bit for some of the others things to expect in other movies where you're kind of looking out for it and who's going to be that way. So liked her. And then we get to the probably the real henchman in the movie. I don't know that there was as much of a henchman focus in this one, but R.J. Dent, who is the like scientist, I think, who had he had the formula or something that he was working on, and then when Bond went and looked into his lab or wherever he was, that found it and figured out he was working for Dr. No and kind of got the tip off to find Dr. No. But this guy tried to sneak into his bungalow and shoot him, but Bond was like behind the door or something and got him. Had a little bit of conversation and then ended up taking RJ out. So he was a fun enough character. I'll have him as a B. Um, okay, now we have the three blind mice. So the three blind mice were very interesting because going into Doctor No again, hadn't seen the beginning, didn't realize it didn't really have a song. Like there's no song called Doctor No or anything. It was the Bond theme, and then it blended into Three Blind Mice, some of the Calypso music and stuff, which was cool. I liked it, and then I feel like it was their silhouettes at the end of the artwork, and then they became the three guys walking across. So I was like, what is this? This is an interesting, you know, sets the stage, but they're the assassins. It's pretty cool. So they ended up taking out one of the, I think it was a double O agent, because then they sent Bond to investigate because they had stopped hearing radio signals or check-ins or something. So they were cool. They didn't say much, if anything, and then I think they came back maybe twice more, at least once. The once was when they died, which is I think the car chase scene, which I thought was cool. So I liked the Three Blind Mice. They didn't do a ton, like they didn't have a ton of personality and stuff, so I'll start them in a B. I'm just trying to be conservative because there's so many of these that got to make sure I'm not like overinflating, but they may move. Okay, tricky one here. We move on to From Russia with Love. Gets to really the spy part of Bond. Good beginning. And a beginning I do remember, like the chess part of it. Him sitting at the table and he gets, Kronstein gets the little card that's, Spectre check-in. So he ends up going in front of Blofeld. It was interesting because I don't know that he had enough to do in the movie. He was just a person who was like super arrogant about his strategies and like, I'm a genius, you guys are idiots, and you just didn't execute it right mindset, as opposed to like Rosa, who's like the executor of the plan and, don't screw it up. So Kronstein was cool though. I liked his character. I wish there was more of Kronstein. Again, I'm going to start him in a B. All right. All right. Mresny, I think, was a little more forgettable for me. I believe he got killed for, failing. I think the same happened with Kronstein. Like it was just you fail Spectre, you get killed kind of deal. I just don't remember him as much because there's like 5 henchmen people in this, and he was the one that, like, to me wasn't as memorable. If I went back and watched it, maybe I'd realize like, oh, that guy, he's pretty important, but I just don't really remember him all that much. Okay, now we get to Red. Red Grant. So Quint from Jaws. Not Jaws in Bond, Jaws the shark. And Robert Shaw is freaking great as an actor. He is really good in this role too. He's imposing but charming. He plays his role well to like befriend, and the train scenes are really good. He's got a lot to do in terms of just dialogue and having a personality and trying to play off as being the agent. And then he's physically imposing, right? He's, especially for like the 1960s, they show him out. He's like at the training center, and he's just out there with his shirt off and everything. The girl giving him a massage, and he's super strong, hard to deal with, which was a good fight for Bond, because like in the first one, Bond fights, but he's fighting he's got his thing on, Dr. No and all that at the end. This was like a real physical like brawl in the train, which I thought was super cool. So I like Red a lot. I'm gonna have Red up in the A category to start. Then we have Rosa. So Rosa, also important. Rosa Klebb. She is the I think ex-SMERSH agent, and SMERSH, from my understanding, is the Russian like Secret Service from the Bond books, like used a lot more, and then Spectre's more of the big enterprise thing that comes a little bit later. But in this, it blends them and just says they still think she works for SMERSH, but she doesn't. She's turned over to Spectre, and she uses that to manipulate the Bond girl in the movie to do it for Russia, but it's not really for Russia, the Soviet Union. It's for Spectre. So Rose is pretty cool. She's got her little shoe, like poison dagger that she kicks with. She kills, I think, I don't know if it was Kronstein. I think it was Kronstein. Maybe it was the other guy, Mresny, but maybe both. One of the things that I liked about her is she is really good at like adapting her personality to the level of authority. So like what I mean is, If it's a subordinate of hers, she will scream at them, yell at them, and be completely in charge. And when she is in front of Blofeld, she is like completely like submissive and nervous, like trying to like not screw up. So I thought that she played that well. And then to her credit, when stuff hit the fan, she didn't just like try to go away or knew she was going to get killed. She's like, I'll go do it myself. So she tried to go in and steal the thing from the hotel, and got caught and tried to kill Bond, and Bond used the chair to block her and everything. But yeah, she was a fun character. I like that character. I'll give her an A as well. Uh, Kish. So we're on to Goldfinger, number 3. Goldfinger had a few. I just have 3 here. Really one that matters a lot. But Kish did a little bit. He was the dude. I think this scene is when he pulls out, is that the trank gun that he shoots Bond with after Bond's getting ready to get killed by the laser, and then doesn't get killed by the laser because he knows the plan, or knows the name of the plan. This is also the guy, I think, that gasses the room when the investors or whatever don't, go along with Goldfinger, which is cool. I always like it when they have that much control of the situation. And then dude at the end was the guy who they like got stuck in Fort Knox, and he tried to disarm the bomb, and Oddjob threw him over the rail. So that was pretty cool. He didn't have a whole lot of personality, I don't think. Like, I didn't need Kish to be like anything special in the movie, but he was a nice little side character. I'll have him as a B. Ling is the Chinese guy. I don't know if I think he was like the nuclear physicist or something. I don't remember him a whole lot. I don't know how necessary he was. Again, this is another character. If I went back and watched the movie, I might be like, oh, yeah, he was much more important than I thought. If they didn't have him, they wouldn't have had the bomb. They wouldn't have had the codes to the bomb, whatever it is. Even then, I just don't remember too much about him other than it being at the end. And I think Goldfinger killed him, like turned on him and shot him. Then we get to Oddjob. So Oddjob's much more famous. I remember Oddjob from growing up for sure. Throwing the hat, hitting the statue was a big one. I remember him fighting in Fort Knox, with when he gets electrocuted. That scene was always interesting to me, and I can't remember if there was like any music to it. I don't think there was. It was just very, like, remembering watching it when I was young. It was like very quiet but echoey, right? When they'd hit the metal and stuff, it was like a really cool scene, which Oddjob and Bond kept fighting and throwing the hat back and forth. So that was fun. That said, like, once I watched it again, there were parts of it that I kind of forgot about or didn't remember. I slightly remembered him being a caddy, which was kind of funny, and cheating, putting the ball down. But the thing I did not remember was him killing the girl with the hat, the sister, the girl Bond was with in the car chase scene, and then at night or whatever, he throws the hat and kills her. I was like, dang, okay, that's pretty dang ruthless. So Oddjob's an A for me. I always liked Oddjob. I liked his smile too, that little subtle, like, I got this handled smile. Pretty cool. All right, moving on to Thunderball. So Thunderball, I only had 3 here. There's really only 2 that I remember much, if any. So the first guy, Count Lippy, I can't remember how you pronounced it. He was the one who stole the weapons at the beginning. I think the missiles, wherever they got, and then ended up trying to kill Bond at the spa, and then got off because he failed at that. I believe that was his role. So he was kind of forgettable to me, though. Like, I didn't really remember him all that much. Just like, yeah, okay, that guy's off to the side. I'll skip the next one for a second. So Vargas, this other one, I really don't remember at all, and I feel like I should. Where he would have been in a tux, I know they were probably in a casino at some point, but yeah, I just don't remember him. I'll give him a C. He wasn't bad, obviously. I don't remember him being bad. But we do have Fiona. So Fiona Volpe, not sure how they pronounce that one either, was a great character, I thought. She was instrumental in like, I think again killing the other guy, but she seduced Bond. They slept together. She turned on him. Bond ends up like, I think they're dancing, and he turns and she gets shot. But she's a great femme fatale. She's like, I think she was the one like in the bathtub when he walks in, and they had all that going on. And then she came off as like sincerely bad, at times, which I thought was good. Sometimes it doesn't, the turn doesn't look as good. But I thought she was really good. So I like Fiona a lot. I'm going to have her as an A. She was probably my favorite villain in that movie. Like, yeah, I'm sure, compared to Largo. Okay. Only a couple I have here. And I feel like this is one that I would say I'm missing one. Um, because I remember, was it Helga from that movie? And Helga was like the girl that jumped out of the plane, got eaten by piranhas. I don't remember her doing much more than that, but I just do remember her. So because I remember her with Mr. Osato, or Osato, was the like key Japanese looking guy, you thought was the head of things, and she was the secretary. That was the relationship. So probably should have included her, but it's okay. She probably would have scored higher than these. So Mr. Osato, since I just mentioned him, he is okay. I don't really buy him being bad so much, and I know he's more of just like the businessman bad. I'll have him as a B. I thought he was fine, like as an actor and everything. I also didn't know, from a casting standpoint, like how many Japanese Americans or Japanese actors that spoke good English to be in a Bond movie were available. But I was sitting there like racking my brain about like anybody from Godzilla film that might do it, but those were dubbed anyway. So he's okay. And then the other one we had before was Hans. I thought Hans was dumb. I did not like Hans. I'm gonna have Hans down in the D category. He is the poor man's Red, like, but he has nothing to him. There's no like depth. He's just the big, tall, burly, blonde haired dude that has a couple fights with Bond. It's fine, but it's not anything where I was like, that was original or good. It actually got to a point where I was like, can we get somebody else in here that's got something to him? So I just wasn't a big fan, and I'll keep him down there to start. All right, on Her Majesty's. So we're down to now in George Lazenby territory. Again, I hadn't seen these growing up. So Grunther, I don't even know if I really needed to call out. Part of what I did see was that he had his little hat and his suit that I think a lot of them were wearing. So it's almost like an homage to that group of guys that were chasing Bond around. It was kind of some cool scenes with like the car chase, like when the ice rink and him driving around and stuff. I thought that was kind of fun, and chasing them through the crowd and everything. So just to acknowledge that they were there. I'll have them down in the C category. They weren't super special. Then we get to Irma. So Irma Blunt. Irma has a lot to do in this film. She is, I think, the head of I never remember the name, the angels, the devils, the whatever up on the top of the mountain, the girls there. She is I would say she's a little bit of a callback to the Rosa Klebb concept, but I mean, it felt like a different enough character that she had her own style. But the big thing was she's the one who shot Tracy Bond. She's the one in the car at the end who pulled out the old gun and took her out. So played a big role. And I liked her character. She was probably the best antagonist in that movie to me, like compared to even Blofeld. Like I thought she looked the part and kind of had a mean streak to her, but also, at times had to be, accommodating to Bond, which I like it when characters have to do that. So I'll have her as an A for now. All right, Diamonds Are Forever. Back to Connery. Boy, I don't remember this guy. Bert Saxby. Not even sure why I pulled him in. I struggle to remember some of the things in that movie for sure now. Bert being one of the things, so I'm just going to have him down here. And then we get to two guys who aren't very forgettable. We have Mr. Kidd and Mr. Wint. So they are a pair. I think they're gay, is what they say now. I don't know if that's true. There was like, and I think it's the scene where he says like, "Oh, she's attractive," and the other guy kind of looks at him like, "What are you doing?" And he said, "For a girl," which totally cool. It's just you didn't even like hear anything about it or know about it. You're just kind of guessing the whole way. At least I was, for the attention I was paying. But I think they have a really cool rapport. They're really weird and like kind of creepy in the way that they always call each other Mr. Kid, Mr. Wint, and the way they like ruthlessly kill these people and then like joke about it. And it's like, oh, make a quip about school teacher getting killed or something. I can't remember who it was, but multiple people. Then they also have their own demise that is not very good. It's kind of a fun thing, I think, in some of the Bond films, earlier ones especially. Maybe they do them later, but when you get to the end and the henchman still shows up and tries to take you out, even the Rosa Klebs, those kind of things. Fun little fights. And so these guys showed up as waiters, and they're serving and everything. And I think Mr. Kid here tries to take out like kebabs or something and stab him, and then Mr. Wint maybe gets him from behind trying to choke him. I can't remember exactly what he used, but yeah, Bond throws alcohol on Mr. Kid and he like burns alive. Like it's pretty right in her face. And then the other one has like a bomb and is getting like racked or something, and as a bomb gets thrown overboard and blows up. So it's pretty difficult ending for both of them. I thought they were both fun though. I liked them. I will have them both in the A category. And if I had to pick one of the two, I'd say Mr. Kid was more memorable, just because look at that hair, glasses, and mustache combo. But they kind of go together. Oh, I will say this aside too is pretty funny because I just again watched these over the last like month. I'm reading a book. I think it's called like Redemption Arc. It's a series called Revelation Space. It's a sci-fi series, but there's characters in there that are Mr. like Orange, Mr. Green, or something. And they call each other Mr. Orange as they talk. And I had to look it up, but they are an homage to Mr. Kit and Mr. Wint. So I was like, well, I'm glad I watched the movie because I wouldn't have known what the heck that was from, or just thought it was original. Okay, now we get to Roger Moore era. We have Live and Let Die. Live and Let Die has some of the best or deepest bench of side characters, I think, and henchmen that are memorable and have like a distinct flair to them, which I liked a lot in that movie. Even this first guy here, so Adam Martin, there's not much to him, but I think he's the one in the boat chase, and I think that boat chase is very long, and he ends up getting knocked up into the old boat and then blowing up. But I liked his demeanor. I liked how he was fighting in that, so I'll just have him as like a B. Then we get to the Baron. So Baron Samedi, I think that's how you pronounce it. Could be wrong. Very memorable character. Like, I didn't see Live and Let Die when I was young, but I knew who he was. And I knew who he was before I played like GoldenEye 64. And it's just one of those characters somewhere you see, or maybe you saw like 5 minutes of the film and he was in it, and I heard his laugh and remember him. But he adds the like most egregious mysticism to the Bond franchise. There's a little bit of hints of it in here. You have the tarot cards with solitaire and everything predicting the future. But this dude's like, okay, I'll take it up a notch. I'm gonna get shot. It's like I'm a piece of pottery, and then come back to life. Super weird. And then at the end, he's on the like train car, which is super cool. So I liked him a lot. I thought he's a very memorable character. He didn't have like a ton to do in the film, but he was a fun character for sure. Then we have to include Sambala. Is that his name? Dambala. So Dambala or Dambala, again, pronunciation always a problem. Has the snake. He's the like witch doctor dude who's running around with the snake while people are tied up, and it like bites them and kills them. Got to escape from it. But yeah, he's like an entertainer while he's doing it. He's not just out there to do his job. He's like making sure everybody's into it, which is cool. So I liked him too. I'm gonna have him in the B category. Then we have Teehee. I think this is Teehee. So Teehee is the end of the movie villain. I said I used him for the other ones, but this is again the henchman at the end showing up. They're in the train car. Teehee's the one with like the metal arm, and the only way that Bond's able to get him is he snips the cord on his arm, and it like clamps his hand to the window, and he gets thrown out the window, and then it rips off his arm, and he falls out the train. Um, so Teehee was in the movie quite a bit, just as having that arm, and he always has that smile. That's pretty cool. I like Teehee as well. I'll have Teehee. I got to be a little discerning here. I'll start him in the B category, but he might move. Then we have Rosie Carver. So Rosie again. I had her in the Bond Girls because she does sleep with Bond and all that. But she's a turncoat, so she's double agent, I guess is the best way to say it. Where she's ratting him out to Mr. Big, and he is kind of onto her and gets it, before he gets killed or anything. But she's kind of an annoying character. Like she takes me out of the movie, and I don't know if it's the actress. I don't know if it's the just dialogue. The movie's a little silly in parts anyway. Maybe it's just that. But something about it kind of took me out of it more so than others. So I'm going to have her in the D category as well. She's the one who I'm like, I just wasn't on the same level as the other ones to me. And then we have Whisper. So Whisper's an interesting one because as I was watching the movie, I wasn't even like thinking about him other than like he's in the scene. It's like, oh, there's a guy. Oh, he's bringing in he's pretending to be the waiter and bringing stuff in. Oh, he's doing this. And he doesn't talk loud. He's called Whisper. But as I went along in the movie and even afterward, I remember him totally. Like he's a very memorable like little side character. He doesn't even seem evil or mean. He's just kind of straight faced and like content. So I liked him. I liked Whisper. He was kind of fun. I'm gonna have him as a B. Okay. We are moving on to Man with the Golden Gun. Andrea Anders. Andrea was also a Bond girl. She is Scaramunga's mistress. She helps Bond, get to Scaramunga and figures all that out and ends up getting killed. But Andrea is pretty good. She's okay. She's not somebody who I was like, oh man, I'm really into that character. I kind of felt that way as a Bond girl. I felt that way as like a side henchman. She's not really a henchman. She's just kind of there, but I'll have her down in the C category. And I included this guy, Craw. This is the only scene I remember him in. And I don't remember if he was maybe in other parts, like doing anything. This was like a super creepy scene where he's just staring at Goodnight and just staring at her. That's all he's doing. Like she's just standing against the wall panicking. It's like James getting ready to die. And he's just like, I'm good. I'm just going to look at you. Super creepy, especially these days. It's like, oh my gosh, how dare you do that in a movie? But back then it was just like, okay, it's intentionally like that. But I thought it was kind of just like a funny thing to have in the movie. You didn't need to do that, but he's there. He didn't have a whole lot to do to me, so I'll have him as a C. I just want to make sure he was acknowledged. All right, we have Nick Nack. So Nick Nack, very famous henchman. Nick Nack is the little person who's, I think, with Fantasy Island. Was that what he was in? Where in this movie he's the kind of caretaker of this island that Scaramunga's on. I think he inherits the island if Scaramunga dies. He keeps bringing all these like assassins to challenge Scaramunga, but he's also a good steward of him. He also is an end of the movie attack out of the vent in the ceiling as Bond is with Goodnight and captures him in a suitcase. Bond gets him and then ties him to like the mast of the ship. I think he survives. So got that going for him. He's one of those that I didn't know too much about when I was like growing up, but I knew of him again. I feel like I'd seen a little bit of the Man with the Golden Gun because I remember Christopher Lee. So that's probably where I remember Nick Nack from as well. But I like him. He's an A for me. All right, we get to Jaws. Mentioned Jaws earlier, the shark, and not this guy, but this is the real one. So Jaws shows up in The Spy Who Loved Me. Jaws was also in Moonraker, so he's got a two movie run here. I remember Jaws for sure growing up. I remember Moonraker. to an extent, and that's the Jaws that I remember. So the Jaws I remember is kind of a little more goofy, a little less evil, a little less threatening. I mean, he's still those things, but it's not, it's a little campy in Moonraker. Uh, so when I watched was The Spy Who Loved Me, he's brutal, right? Like he's biting and killing people. Every time, one of the cool things is like every time you think he should die, he lives. It's like, hey, you just fell off a cliff in a car into a home or a barn or something and just walk out and wipe yourself off. It's a pretty cool thing. I mean, for being campy, a little bit campy movies within the Moore era, like it's kind of a fun thing. And then he's got his teeth, super cool, distinct look. The actor's awesome. I cannot remember. Is it like Richard Keel? I think it's something like that. But he's in Happy Gilmore later. So very memorable character. The interesting thing with him is, in what I remembered with Moonraker, is he sacrificed himself at the end. Like he turned and helped Bond. And I was like, oh, good, because I like Jaws. As a kid, you're like, good. I'm glad he ended up good, and he's with his girlfriend, and they die together. Well, come to find out, he didn't die at all. They have a little comment that I would have never listened to as a kid, even if that scene came up, or it's just like, oh yeah, and so survived. You catch it. So I thought that was pretty cool that they had him there. So Jaws is an A for sure. Very memorable character, very intimidating, super fun scenes with him. Okay, we have Naomi. I talked about Naomi and the Bond girls as well. Just walking up in the bikini, then getting in a helicopter and trying to blow you away. Crazy girl. Thought she was a fun addition to the film. It's like a nice. I like to have those kind of crazy moments where it's like you feel the like energy of the villain wanting to kill Bond versus just a henchman who's doing his job. So she's one of those. She's got a lot of craziness to her, but she gets blown up in the explosion. I'll start her as a B. Then we have Sandor. So Sandor is this scene actually is right next to maybe Jaws in that same scene up there. But they are like the two henchmen together, and Sandor's like shorter, stockier, bulky dude who ends up fighting Bond on a rooftop. That was not a very good fight scene. Like, and I'm not a choreography guy. Like, I don't care about fights too much and like who's throwing the punch the right way and doing whatever. But like, if a guy jumps at another guy and hardly runs into him, like kind of softly gets caught, it's like, okay, you just made a cut and whatever. But it wasn't the best fight scene, and he ends up getting thrown off a roof and dies. I wasn't a big fan of this character. I don't think he was needed. I don't remember if he did much else. Um, I'll actually have him in the D category. I think he was kind of dumb. I just don't think he was needed. Then we get to Moonraker. The only other Moonraker henchman we had, so Jaws was the main one, was Chang, which, I mean, I don't know if maybe they explained it, like why they felt they needed to have like a ninja guy in there. Now, that said, Moonraker was like at 50 different locations, so I can't remember if they were, in a dojo or something at some point, or because I remember it in some other movies, but maybe not that one. Like it's more like Connery in there, not Roger Moore, but maybe I'm mistaking it. But I don't remember him much except for like their final fight, and they were like in a museum or something, maybe where they're knocking glass out and things, or room with that kind of thing. He wasn't super memorable to me. I'll just have him as a C. Okay, we get to For Your Eyes Only. This was a weird movie for me. Like, I still struggle to process some of this movie. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it was a little different. And I struggled some with the villains and like placing what was going on. So this guy, Emil Leopold, felt initially like me to be the villain. Like they go and do a police sketch. It's like he looked like this. He had these glasses because Bond saw him in like a pool or something at the big villa. And he, I was like, yeah, he looks pretty menacing. That's pretty good. Maybe he'll do a lot of stuff. And then I think what he was he ended up killing one of the girls, like in the dune buggy thing, ran over. And then the real scene that I remember him from is Bond kicking him over the cliff. He's in the car and he throws the cigarette, I think, in the car and kicks off the cliff. which for a Roger Moore, movie was pretty badass compared to some of the other stuff he does. Uh, but that's about all Leopold does. I think he's a B. I thought he was kind of cool looking, at least, and a little menacing. I wish he had more to do. Um, Most of it felt like, hey, go do this to this next guy. Like go shoot him. Go do something. Okay. Next guy is Eric. I think Eric. Yeah, Eric Kriegler. So he's more the Olympian biathlete. I can shoot a gun, I can ski. I'm a Nordic events kind of guy. Super in shape. Kind of the real physical threat to Bond in this skiing and then fighting him. I think this was the dude where I was like, what death was that? Where has Bond like kind of dead to rights, then he gets distracted because people leave a room. He like looks over and then Bond takes him out and pushes him out a window. And I was like, dude, just stay focused for like 2 seconds. Like there's nothing happening. You know what's over there. Look out of the corner of your eye and pay attention. So he was a little bit of a victim to that. I thought he was okay though. He had a little bit to do. I'll give him a B. And then the last one, and For Your Eyes Only, I had to kind of rack my brain on this one when I saw his picture down there. This was the guy at the beginning. This was the one who killed Havelock. I believe the husband and wife. The daughter survived, and he's the one that gunned them down in a helicopter. And then Bond has to go track him down and at his residence or something. She kills him. He gets killed by a crossbow or a bow and arrow or something like that. But I think it's a crossbow. He didn't have a ton to do to me. He wasn't like super memorable. Again, so I'll just have him as a C. All right. We are getting down to Octopussy. So Octopussy has several here. It was a very interesting movie. This is the one known for like having the circus and all this other stuff. The first one we have is General Orlov. General Orlov is kind of a main villain. He's close to just being the main villain. Kamal Khan being the one I had in there. So General Orlov is a little demonstrative, a little bit of an emoter when he's in big military meetings and stuff. The very aggressive, why aren't we doing this? What's wrong with you people? Kind of an actor. He also, I think this was Victor Maitland from Beverly Hills Cop as well. That's what I remember him from. I didn't see this movie growing up, so I did not know he was even in this. And when I saw him, I was like, oh, okay, I know that guy. And I thought he was pretty good. It was over the top a little bit at times, and he was a little like, it's like, dude, chill out just a bit. But I thought he was pretty good. So I'm going to have him as a B. Gobinda. Gobinda, it doesn't feel like he had a ton to say. He was just the big muscle. I do like that they actually did, something different than like token big blonde haired white guy. This guy was intimidating. He had the dice whenever Bond used Khan's dice, and then he picked them up and crushed them. I was like, oh, that's pretty sweet. And then he's a formidable force in a fight, and I like that. So I'm going to have him as a B as well. Okay, I'll do these two guys together down here. These two guys are, make sure I get their names right, Grishka and Mishka. Yeah, Grishka and Mishka. They are knife throwers in the circus. And so they have a scene where one of them's tied up against the circle thing and they spin it, and the other one's blindfolded and throwing the knives at it. I was stressed out. I didn't know he wasn't going to hit him. He's not, but you're like telling yourself, he's not. But they're both pretty cool. I like them. They have this like weird menacing look on their face, like that you can see right there. And I don't know that I would have ever been able to separate them and tell you one versus the other in the movie. But I think they were both fun to watch, and then they end up, getting killed. But they were good villains as well. Then we get to, and this is the one we skipped. This is Magda. Yeah, Magda. I remember Magda in the movie. I don't remember her doing much. She was just always kind of the evil seeming, not evil even, just like mean seeming assistant girl, right? Who's just wandering around. It's like, you think, is she gonna be a Bond girl, or is she just gonna be mean? Like, what's her role? And I don't really remember it that much, so I'm gonna have her down in the C category. She was fine, but I don't remember much. And lastly, we have Mufti. So Mufti is going to represent Mufti and his clan. He has a like group of three or something that they are assassins, they are mercenaries that are hired to kill Bond. Saw guy, yo-yo saw guy that like takes the saw and throws it into the table and then picks it up and then goes into the bedroom. It's like throwing super cool. Like, is it dumb? Sure. Does it make any sense? It doesn't, but it's pretty cool. And the whole fight was good. I enjoyed the whole crew and the mercenaries as like another villain to fight. So it was pretty fun as well. I'm gonna have them as a B. So a lot of good little like henchmen folks in Octopussy. I don't even know that I liked the movie that much, but I liked all the henchmen. All right, moving on. We get down to a back to Connery. Never say never again. We have um, let's see here. We have what's his name? Lip. This is Lippy again. Similar to the one we had Thunderball, because this is kind of a redo of Thunderball. So the only thing I remember about this guy is having like a super brutal, strong fight, like in the spa, beginning fight again. But Bond kills him this time. Someone with his own pee or something. It's like looking at a bottle, and then he gets pushed into a wall and gets all these shards of glass in his back, which is pretty cool. Thought he was pretty forgettable though. I'll just have him as a C. I mean, it was fine. I just didn't remember him that much. And then we have Fatima Blush. So Fatima's pretty nuts. She blows up Bond's hotel room, thinking like, oh, he's going back to his hotel room, but he ends up going with his girl instead. And then he is, or she like, I think this is the one where she throws the snake in the guy's car and then blows it up, which I think she could have just blown it up. She already had the little thing, unless I'm mistaken, to blow it up with, the detonator, and the bomb was already in the car. But she decided to throw the snake in first, and then she had to save the snake because it's her pet snake. So she was just kind of an interesting character, seduces Bond a little bit, tries to. So I thought she was pretty interesting. I'll start her as a B as well. We might move some of these up as we get some to like S tier. All right, View to a Kill. View to a Kill is Dr. Mortner. Dr. Mortner. Mortner is the dude with the monocle. He's got a monocle. He is kind of the supposed to be intelligent, refined dude in this. I don't know that he does a lot other than being in the blimp at the end and then blowing up. Is kind of what I mostly remember him for, but maybe he did more. I will have Dr. Mortimer just as a C. And then we have Scarpine. I really don't remember this guy that much. I feel like I should. He's got the little gash on his side. Not very memorable, so I'm just gonna have to throw him down in the C. Yeah, just don't racking my brain. Can't think of him. All right, Mayday on the other hand is very memorable. So Mayday was the right hand man of Max Zorin, Christopher Walken's character. Mayday again is a well recognized Bond henchman. I knew her before I rewatched these movies. She is, a Bond girl in that movie as well. The thing I liked about Mayday, I mean, one, she was just like she was physical. She was very like intimidating force, even to fight, like agile and all that. But then she also was, she turned kind of at the end because Max screwed everybody over. He like started killing everybody, and he's like, she's dead too. And she was upset. She's like, that's my guy. What is he doing? And then so she ends up sacrificing herself at the end. But I thought she was a pretty good and memorable henchman. I'll have Mayday as an A. She's really memorable. All right. Moving on. Let's see. We've got Living Daylights. Yeah. So Living Daylights. Scrolling down, we've got three here. Is that right? So Colonel Feodor is just like a side colonel that helps the general, who we'll see in a second. I don't remember him all that much or anything he did, so I'm going to have him as a C, which is kind of a blah character to me. I know he was there. I know he had lines, but it's like, yeah, what's he doing? Don't really care. On the other hand, we have General Koskov. So, unfortunately, I had not seen this movie growing up. However, I'd seen The Fugitive, and he plays the same character in The Fugitive, where he's the friendly, kind of friendly guy. And it's like, oh, we're all good. And then he ends up being the bad guy. So, we'd have to pretend we don't know that that's going to happen while we're watching the movie after you've seen that. And then you kind of realize, oh crap, he's turned and he's, in cahoots with Whitaker around the arms dealing and everything. And he's in Afghanistan, doing all the stuff with the Russians and the Afghani freedom fighters and everything, trying to push him back. But he's a fun character. I thought he was really suave. He plays the character well of being the good guy, and the friend, and then does a pretty good job of being like mean and not fully evil, just kind of like trying to do his thing. And so I thought he's pretty good. I'm going to have General Orlov or General Koskov, excuse me, as I'm going to have him as A to start. Yeah. Okay. Now we have Necros. So Necros, again, we're going back to the kind of burly dude who's in, a lot of the movies. He is a pretty standard version, though I think I remember him like getting in different costumes. Like he'd be driving a truck or something and, sneaking up behind somebody and like catching him. So he had a little bit going for him in that regard. He wasn't like a super boring guy, but he wasn't great either. I could be generous, but I'm gonna have him down as a C as well. And he's better than Hans. We know that. All right, let's move to License to Kill. So, and I should have mentioned, we're in Timothy Dalton era if I didn't say that. So, License to Kill is the second Timothy Dalton movie. I have quite a few from this one because there are a lot of like side characters that have something to do, which I thought was pretty interesting. So, like Ed Killifer here, he's the guy who at the beginning is interrogating Sanchez and yelling at him and saying, we're going to stop all this dirty stuff and you're never going to be able to buy us off. And then he gets bought off for like $2 million. So he ends up going with him and he's just kind of hanging around the lair and waiting for his ride out of town. But before the ride can get out of town, he gets taken out by Bond, I believe by Bond. But I liked Ed. I thought Ed was pretty good. I'm going to have him as a B. It was nice to have that little turncoat guy who just got bought out and was like, yeah, screw it, it's worth it. Heller, I do not remember much, if anything, about, so I'm just going to have him down in the C. He didn't take me out of the movie, but again, there's so many other characters, and he's by far the least memorable compared to the others. This is Wayne Newton, aka Joe Butcher in this movie. So Wayne Newton, the famous Las Vegas singer, etc. And you see him he's like the, go out and sell stuff person in this movie. Fun character, fun little, side character. Can't remember if he died. I mean, he was running away from the everything blowing up at the end. Maybe he got away and they stole his stuff, like he didn't have anything, and that was the whole point. Greedy guy, didn't have anything, but he was fun. He was okay. I'll have him as a B to start. I kind of liked that they had him in there. This guy, so Milton Crest was probably one of the more important side villains in this movie, maybe the henchman, if you will, who was running the kind of sea shop. He's the Quint of the expedition, right? He has like the aquarium place and ship or boats and stuff. So he's helping to run the racket, if you will, and he's really important to keep the money moving. And then he gets framed that he was the one stealing money, and it wasn't the case. But he has one of the best deaths in Bond, where his head explodes. They put him in this pressure thing, and it blows up, and they show it, and it's pretty cool. I'll have him as a B. All right, we are down to Truman Lodge. Truman's like the accountant, finance, hey, check the books kind of guy. Let's make sure we got all of our money accounted for. This is Jimmy from Seinfeld. Speaks in the third person, Jimmy. But he is pretty solid throughout the movie. He's kind of always around, trying to make sure things are good. And then when stuff hits the fan and the place is blowing up, he's trying to get everything together, and he escapes, and they escape, and then Sanchez ends up shooting him at the end because he's like bitching and complaining about something. So, but I like this character too. They're all kind of B's for me, which again is good. So I like them. And then we get to Dario. Dario, a famous actor in his younger age, that I never knew was in a Bond movie, but certainly Benicio del Toro was very good. Like, I liked his demeanor in this. He's very threatening, very aggressive. Doesn't lay off of that. Like, even he's one of those guys where the other henchmen are like, dude, chill out just a little bit. But he's going at it. So he and Bond are fighting, and he's trying to knock him off the little moving conveyor belt thing, and then Bond's holding on, Dalton's holding on, and then finally he gets the best of Dario and knocks him in. But he's a knife fighter dude, which is cool. So I like Dario. I'll start Dario as a B. All right, we are now into Brosnan territory. General Urumov. General Urumov, there's other great characters in GoldenEye as well. But Urumov is the kind of guy who they think's behind everything. He's the one stealing GoldenEye. He's the one who has turned against the Russians, but then he goes in front of the Russian leadership. He's like, it is absolutely not me. What the heck's wrong with you all? But then when Bond is getting interrogated and he realizes he's toast, he turns and then creates the story of how Bond did it, but it doesn't end up paying off for him. He gets taken out. But Urumov is pretty interesting, pretty fun. I'll have him as a B. Then we have Boris. Boris is Boris Grushenko, is the programmer who is invincible. Every time he does something, but he's clicking the pen, like Bond's sweating because he's clicking the pen and he needs to click it 3 times or something blows up. But he's good. He's got a relationship with the Bond girl. He's got he's the turncoat that kind of lets them take over, goes outside for a smoke while all hell breaks loose inside. And he's easy to hate, / enjoy at the same time, which is a good character. So we are going to put Boris. I'll have Boris. I could have Boris as an A. All right, and we also had Xenia. Xenia on the top is in the Bond girls category, but she is also in this one. She never slept with Bond technically, but they flirted and all that stuff, so I include her in the girls. But she is very intimidating. She is crazy. She is feisty. She is weird in an awesome way. Super well, very good portrayal by Famke Janssen. Probably to me her most memorable role. People now would say Jean Grey, which whatever. But yeah, she was awesome in this movie. She would be an A. Okay, Tomorrow Never Dies. I kind of forgot about this guy, Dr. Kaufman. A little bit of a highlight of the film for me. The scene where he's like this professional assassin and he's all calculated and everything's just his job, and he's a mentor of the other henchmen. And the only frustrating thing is I'm like, dude, if you're so good at what you do, why did you let your guard down? Why are you having all of this conversation? Why are you doing stuff? It's like, other than that, I really liked it. I like the actor. I like the scene. I'm going to have him as an A. I wish they would have executed a little bit better, but I'll fault the movie for that more than the character. We have Gupta. Gupta is like the assistant AV guy for Tomorrow Never Dies. He's like making sure that all the um, you know everything's working with the media and all the stuff they're actually trying to do. So he's not the muscle. He's just the guy behind the scenes. Um, I thought he was fine. I'm gonna have him as a C. He kind of was quippy and whatever, but I also didn't really remember him too much. Bond like held him hostage, and the guy's like, "Hey, you can kill him. I don't care." But he is kills him anyway. So then we get to Stamper. Stamper is again the big burly blonde guy. I don't find him all that interesting. I don't know that he took me out of the movie. He had some like good things. He gets his foot trapped at the end, and like the fight's okay, and it's kind of fun. I still have him as like a C. Is okay. Yeah. All right, we get to The World Is Not Enough. Cigar Girl is her name. It's not really her name, but it's just they didn't give her a name. At first, I was like, "Who's Cigar Girl?" And then I remember she's the girl at the beginning, and she's the one who has to escape, is trying to escape Bond, and runs away, gets all the way to the hot air balloon, and it blows up. But you can tell she's like, you know, under pressure to do her job, and she's just trying to get things done, and she knows she's gonna die if she doesn't like kill herself or blow up that balloon. Um, but I was like, man, what a what a wasted character. Like she's attractive. She's seems like she's a good actress, at least for the scenes she was in. It's like I would have liked to have her in the movie longer, and she wasn't in it, and she kind of just blew up. So she didn't have enough to do. I'm going to have her down in the C category. We have Mr. Bullion. So Mr. Bullion was the kind of bodyguard for. I think he was the bodyguard on the good guys, right? Like he was, yeah, because he turned and ended up like trying to take them out at the end, and he'd like flip sides. I don't know if it was just that he was paid off or he was always on the other side. I can't really remember if he was Valentin's. I think he was Valentin's bodyguard and then flipped on him. But I didn't really care for this character all that much. She kind of took me out of the movie a bit, but it wasn't like terrible, terrible. Um, I'll start him as a C. I don't know if he'll stay there. You know what? I'm gonna put him as a D, and then I'll move him up if he's better than I'm thinking. All right, we'll get to Sasha Davidov from The World Is Not Enough. This was like a very generic guy, just very generic, and some dude they had to like convince to keep going after Bond or whatever, and blah blah blah. I mean, he's just very disinteresting to me. Start him as a C. We have Gabor, the random big burly like Samoan looking guy, of which we also have a big burly Samoan looking guy in the next one. I guess that was a thing then. I don't know if it was when The Rock was getting popular or what. But anyway, don't remember him much at all. Big burly guy. Fine. C. Electra King. So Electra technically could have probably been the main villain of that movie, if you wanted to call it that. She just wasn't the end, and I thought she was also a little, psychologically compromised from maybe the main villain and some other things. So anyway, she's here, and I thought she was pretty good. I enjoyed like she was, a Bond girl, but was manipulating everybody behind the scenes. She was the daughter of the guy that was killed, and like used them all to get her way. So I'll have Electra as an A. All right, we get to Kill is his name. So again, big burly guy, Kill. I think that was a comment in the movie. I was like, oh, good name, Kill. It's K-I-L. See, I just don't remember much from him. The movie was not that great. Frost. So Miranda Frost is much more memorable. She was the MI6 agent. Like when Bond was away for whatever in Korea 6 years, she rose in the ranks or was part of MI6, and she's the one who's like, well, I know all his tricks. I'm not gonna fall for that. I'm too good and blah blah blah. She ends up she's a bad guy. She was on the fencing team with the bad guy, and I again don't know what the other motive was. There's got to be something beyond that. But she was, again, kind of a turncoat around the time where they were in the ice castle, and then they were up in the blimp flying plane, and ends up getting killed by Halle Berry, Jinx, with what, Art of War, was that the book that got stabbed through her heart? Pretty dumb. But I thought she was okay. I thought she was fine. I think the movie kind of stunk, and I've like given uh, some leeway, so I'll give her a B. And then we have this guy from Die Another Day, who is Vlad. Vlad is very bland. I don't remember him. And then we have Zhao. So Zhao he was at the beginning in Korea. The diamonds blow up. I liked early Zhao when he was just doing his thing, and he's like the guy on the radio. And then he becomes this guy who's like trying to go through the gene therapy that the other guy did. And it's not quite there, as you can tell. But I'm sitting there going like, so we have the technology to make a North Korean guy look British, but I can't get diamonds off this guy's face, which I didn't quite, and maybe they explained it. I didn't quite get that. I did not like this character. I thought it was distracting. I just thought he was dumb. I'm gonna have him in the D category. Again, because he had a lot to do and he wasn't good at it. Some of them who don't have a lot to do, I just forget on. That's fine. All right, we are, and I know we're a little over. I usually go about an hour, but I'll go longer here. So we do we are now into the Daniel Craig movies. We're in Casino Royale. We've got quite a few from there. Hopefully I can remember them all. I kind of do. Okay, so Alex Dimitrios. Alex is the guy toward the beginning. He is playing poker, and Bond beats him, and his girlfriend comes in, and he's pissed off and doesn't acknowledge his girlfriend. She ends up sleeping with Bond, but he's dealing with all the bomb making and all the things going on. And I thought he was fine. Like, he was just a good little side character in a good movie. I mean, I thought he was fine. Like, good actor. The next guy we have is Carlos Nikolic. Nikolic. I don't know. Ends in a C. So Carlos was the dude driving the truck to blow up the plane. And Bond finds him at the airport, chases him down. They have the long truck fight scene. Bond gets the better of him at the very end by tagging the bomb trigger or the bomb fuse or whatever it is to him. And he blows up instead of the plane. I thought he was good. I mean, he didn't have to do a lot from like an acting standpoint or anything other than just, being in that scene. But the scene was good. I'm going to have him as a B. Gettler, I don't remember him much other than like holding Vesper hostage at the end and then getting shot maybe. But very bland, like super bland. C. This guy, Krat. So Krat is like another generic, bald, mean-looking guy. He didn't have a lot to do either, but he kind of took me out of it. Like, when I'd see him, I'm like, what is this guy? Who's this guy? What's he doing? I don't really care. So I'm going to move him to the D category. Then we get to Malaka. He's at the beginning. Malaka is the guy who does the 9-hour-long parkour scene with Daniel Craig. Ends up getting caught at the embassy or what have you, and then gets blown up. So fun scene again. This guy didn't really have a lot to do from like an acting standpoint. So I'm going to have him like as a, I'll have him as a C. All right, Mr. White. Mr. White had a little bit more to do. So Mr. White was in not only Casino Royale, he was in Quantum of Solace a little bit? And then Spectre. But Mr. White is the father of Swan. And she is, I think, all the way up to No Time to Die. So he might have been in that too. But he ends up getting killed, or kills himself, commits suicide. I think it was Inspector. Yeah, that was Inspector. And before that, he ends up killing Lashif. He is the guy Inspector, where he's watching the like money and how it's going. And so like he's at the deal at the beginning when They're making the deal. He's in the middle. He's just kind of this side character, and then he ends up having a little bit more importance. And you kind of get the little org chart of Spectre later where you see him. But I thought he was fine. I thought the actor was good. I'd have him as a B. And then we have Stephen Obano. So he is the dude who was at the beginning making the deal. Like I said, they show up looking for the money at the hotel during the casino games. Bond ends up strangling them or killing them in the stairwell. I liked the character. I liked him, the actor. I thought he was pretty good too. I'm gonna have him as a B. And then we have Valenka. So this is the girl that drugged Bond. It's the Lashif's girlfriend or lady, mistress, something. And she poisons his drink, and he has to go out, and he almost dies, and Vesper saves him, and the rest is history. But she's pretty good. She's kind of not very memorable for me, so I'm going to have her in the C category. Okay, only a few more here. Quantum, we've got 4. Carlos, like the right-hand man of the general, who we'll get to here in a second. Don't remember him. Little side character. Elvis, what's the deal with this guy? Why is he in the movie? What's his role? He gets blown up at the end. He's like, dude, the guy gives him a gun to like point at Bond, but he blows up with the haircut and I don't know. So Elvis took me out of the movie a bit. I'm going to move Elvis to the bottom. All right, we have General, what's his name? General, can't even see it. General Medrano. So General Medrano is the like leader of the country. I think it's Venezuela, where he's getting bought off, and he's, well, I'm not going to sign that because it's 60% upcharge. And the guy's like, well, the last guy said the same thing, and he died. He's like, all right, I'll sign it. So they're out there having a cigar and all good, but he's very creepy. He's got like a backstory of having, I think it was raped and killed the Bond girl's, mother, sister, something like that, and like let her live, but she had burned something with that to that extent. So yeah, really bad dude. But I thought the guy played him all right, and it was fine. I'll have him as a B. Okay. As we move on, we have Beam, Greg Beam, very generic name, like a CIA dude who's in cahoots with the bad guys, letting stuff go, telling Felix, don't get involved, let this go, Bond's loose cannon, that whole kind of thing. So this dude just kind of sucks and he's mean. I'm gonna have him as a C. Skyfall. Moving into Skyfall, only a couple here. Marco Sciarra. Boy, I don't remember this guy. I don't know if it's the blood on his head. I don't know if it's just that the movie doesn't make him stand out, but I don't remember him. I'm going to have him as a C. This guy either. Patrice. Oh, Patrice is he's the sniper. So he's the one who Bond is like chasing and then kills him in Singapore or Hong Kong or wherever they're, China. But doesn't have a lot to do other than like fight a little bit. And so I'm going to have him as a C as well. All right, Spectre. We have Max Denbigh. But he is he is European. He is a British like government official or intelligence agency person, and his whole thing is like, hey, we're trying to move into the future. MI6 needs to be shut down, 007 needs to go away, and we need to turn on this worldwide security surveillance system, 1984, what have you, always a good idea. But his real intent is just to give Spectre eyes to everything going on. And so he's a turncoat. The good news with him is he actually has to fight M. They're the ones who are butting heads on this stuff, and that was a good little thing. And I thought he was actually fine, so I'm going to have him as a B. Like, for what the character was, he was fine. Then we have Mr. Hinks. So Mr. Hinks felt very out of place. Dave Bautista here, a very big and a little comical type henchman in a movie that seemed to be trying to take itself very seriously. He fights in the train, and Bond like straps him to something, parachute or something, and gets thrown out of the train. Says something stupid before he goes out of the train, I think. And maybe shoot. Did he say shoot? Why do I? That's what's on my head. But I thought he wasn't needed or do something else. It just wasn't a good character. Uh, is it bad enough to take me out of the movie? Probably not. He at least had the kind of cool scene. Walks in, kills the guy, takes his eyes, push him in. So I'll give him a little credit for that because he's better than some of these other guys. All right, we get to No Time to Die. No Time to Die has Logan Ash, the too excited Bond fanboy CIA guy that's actually bad, and helping the villain. Gets crushed by a car when Bond like makes sure that he gets crushed by a car. But yeah, so he's fine though. Like again for the role he's playing, he's fine. I'll have him as a C to no, I'll have him as a B. I'll have him as a B to start. Kind of dumb though. We'll see. Then we get to Primo. Primo's the dude with like the mechanical eye that keeps popping in or out or whatever, and it finally blows up and kills him. I think blows up his head. I didn't like this guy. I thought it was a D. It's like this is dumb. We don't need this. And then we have Valdo Obrushev. Valdo is pretty cool. Like I thought he was better than the movie. Like he's a throwback to a little bit of like a good Bond henchman from maybe a cornier era too. His job is to take the nanobots and like use the DNA. It's a stupid plot, and get them to kill the certain people. But he is, embedded in MI6, I think, before they get him out and something, or maybe not MI6, but somewhere else. So he is, he's okay, but I'll have him as a B. Okay, now we'll go in rank. I know we're long on time as always. So, all right, D's. I will at least give that guy some credit for being better at the beginning. I thought Hans was really stupid. This guy's the worst. Elvis, is that his name? Elvis is the worst. That guy's kind of dumb and distracting. Primo, Bling. I'd probably put Rosie down here. And that's not too bad down there. And then this guy's down here. I will move him there. There. Okay. Any of these others need to move down? Don't think so. All right. Just, forgettables. So some real forgettable. Like these guys aren't forgettable, so I'll move them up a little bit. Not forgettable. Hector's not forgettable. Stamper's, she's somewhat memorable. Okay. That guy's kind of dumb. I'm going to move him down here too. Okay, we got to start. So this guy, I just don't remember much. Mr. Hinks has more to do. I'll move him up a bit. In terms of these, let's see. I'll move him up a bit. I'll move her up. I like Cigar Girl too. I'll move her up. I'll move her down. These guys are just guys and gals aren't that important, so I won't spend too much time nitpicking on all of them. The Samoan guys, I probably have them over. I have Hinks over them. Her up higher. Him up a little bit. Not too much. My gosh, no. About there. Him a little bit higher. The guy with the monocle was kind of cool. Jones didn't have a whole lot to do. I'll move him down a little bit. But I'll put him above him. Move him down. Hector. You just start remembering other things where you're like, oh yeah, I didn't really like that or whatever, but you know, had some more character. Craw didn't have too much to do compared to Anders. Anders had more to do than him. Lippy. Okay, that's good enough for there. All right, let's go to the bees. We'll spend a little bit of time here because some of these guys, I'm going to move him down. He's more like... he's more like here. Okay, these guys. Let's see. Who's at the top of this tier? Who do I really like here? I can move Miss Tarot down a little bit, move RJ down. I can move him up. I liked him too more. Oh, Ormov goes up. I like him. Also, Sato is not as good as those guys. Oh, I can't split the brothers. They got to be together, and they're more fun than some of these other ones. Okay, I'll probably move Eric down a little bit. Yeah. Man, I really like Yo-Yo Saw Guy. I know this isn't even him in the picture, but I'm like, it's fun. Fun little scene. Teehee, I'm going to give a little bit more than those guys. He can move down. He's just driving the boat. I have Whisper a little bit higher than Dambala. But I wouldn't have Dambala as high as those guys. Okay, I move, oh no, not him. I move Wayne Newton down a little bit. Mr. White up a little bit. And maybe this guy up a little bit. Just like here. All right, that's not too bad. I think that's pretty close, and then we'll get to the top. Okay, so we've got to move some up to S tier. Then we got to get the A tier ordered. So who are S tiers here, and how many am I going to allow myself to have? All right. Jaws is an S tier for me. Red is an S tier for me. Odd Job. Xenia. How many we have down at the bottom? Oh, a lot. So not going to do that. All right, let's start there, and I may still move somebody up. We'll see. All right, Electra. Baron doesn't have a ton to do, but man, he's iconic. Boris, that guy. I probably have... Man, this isn't that bad. Okay, boom, boom, boom. I can move Baron above Mr. Kid, Mr. Went. I'd have Knick-Knack higher than them. Knick-Knack higher. I'd have Irma a little farther down. Fiona's pretty sweet, but I'd move her maybe below the Baron. Rosa's really good, but I'd have her maybe down there. And we'll just keep it at a Mount Rushmore, maybe, of these. So let's do the order. Boy, this is tough because these are all really good characters. I'm going to move Oddjob to 4th because he doesn't have as much personality as the others. Man. Jaws is very classic. Gets a little goofy, but it's classic. It's tough, I think. I'm going to do it. I think Xenia's number 1. I think she's number 1. She's crazy. Great personality. Kills people. Wish she was in it more. Jaws 2. Red 3. Oddjob 4. Knick-Knack almost there. If we had one more spot on Mount Rushmore, I'd have him up there because he's very memorable. But that's it. We'll do that for the Henchmen. I'm sure I could change my mind a billion times. Like if I went and watched the movies again, I'm sure I would change these. I would change my villains for sure. Probably warrant a rewatch, but maybe someday. All right. So that will end our Henchmen video with Xenia taking the top.